This is Lucas Machina, your pawn of the evening. I'm here with one of the Knights of the Comic Crusaders, Jeff Brazy, one of the senior writers, and the writer and artist for Mr. Happy. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm great. How about you, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm just going to go ahead and get the party started with my little freaking little tequila right here.
Unfortunately, I was working today and I did not have a chance to stop by and pick up anything good. So it's high octane Arby's tonight.
Uh, but that's all right. I'll drink for both of us. All
There you
right.
go. Make up the difference.
All right. So what we wanted to talk about tonight was the big news. We're going to start off with the big news for this week first, and that was the FOX-CORP, the merger or the buying of Fox by Disney, Marvel, and of course, we're excited to hear about it and think about what are the possibilities of what's
Yeah.
going on. So, for you, Jeff, what are the Fox property or characters that you love that you want to see in the MCU universe?
Now I don't know how everybody else is going to feel because they haven't had a very good track record cinematically from Roger Corman on through to the Gareth Edwards films. But I would actually love to see the Fantastic Four.
Sure, sure.
Because when you bring in the Fantastic Four, even if you don't like the Fantastic Four, you get some major players. You get Silver Surfer, you get Doctor Doom, you get Galactus, and like that. Marvel's already doing a whole lot of cosmic stuff lately, and that opens up a whole new cosmic vista right there.
Right,
Plus,
right,
I
right.
just
Yep,
really happen
yep.
to like the Fantastic Four. I
Okay.
think
Right.
I think on the X Men side, I know everybody'd love to see Deadpool come on over,
Yep.
and
Yep. Yeah.
and I'm sure everybody in the world wants to see Wolverine poured on over, no matter who ends up playing him next.
Right. Well, see, it's interesting that you're starting off with two of those characters first because by nature, both Deadpool and Wolverine, they are nasty characters, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to do those characters any service is you got to go rated R. So
Now,
here's
well, the point about that is they've been talking about the Black Widow film lately, and the rumor is that they are going to go rated R with that. And so if they go ahead and bite the bullet on that, because we've already seen PG-13 Wolverine, and they experimented with PG-13 Deadpool, but like, come on, we all want to see the hard stuff when it comes to certain heroes.
chill, chill. Well, I mean, so what you're saying is you think that Disney definitely has the balls to try and pull this off, to go ahead
It,
and give us a PG-13 Wolverine, PG-13. Well, Deadpool was rated R, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And the last, Logan was rated R, and that was a masterpiece of a film. That film is just peripherally a superhero film. It is just a masterpiece of a drama film,
Right,
and it
right.
was hardcore and super violent, and it was just amazing. But here's something a lot of people don't consider. When they think about Disney, oh, Disney never does anything that's not, PG to PG-13. Disney owns a lot of other companies, a lot of other film studios that do make rated R content. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I remember when I first found this out, I was pretty shocked to find out, like, oh, Disney, through a subsidiary, has made some pretty graphic horror movies.
Okay,
So
okay. I might have to look that up. Might have to look that up
it's
and
definitely a
call that
possibility.
out.
They might just finally pull the trigger on it.
That sounds like an article that we might have to write up for Comic Crusader sometime if we get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other one that you just mentioned was definitely pretty interesting. Was the Silver Surfer Galactus connection to the Fantastic Four? Because I know that a lot of people have been researching on what the keys are for Fantastic Four, just in case. Because all in all, Fantastic Four that is a family film. That would be a
Mhm.
family film. I could definitely see the family in it. Um, so I could definitely see them doing it. However, when people are looking for all these keys, I think they're missing 2 points, and that's because the people aren't reading the books right now. Is
Yeah.
that there's the two new kids, right? The daughter and the son of the
Right.
Fantastic
Franklin and
Four.
Valeria.
Right, exactly. So, and they're pretty freaking cheap right now. So let me start off first with talk about Galactus and Silver Surfer that you brought up.
Hmm.
Fantastic Four. Number 48, that's going for pretty cheap because they'll get a cheap copy out there, whether it be a low end copy or high end copy. That's still within reach. And then the first appearance of Galactus, that's number 49. Nobody's picking that up. So, and I can't believe it. It's like, okay, wait a minute. I get it. 48 was his first cameo, but then the first full, you can pick up a pretty good copy right now for under $100. I
Right.
can't believe it. I can't understand it. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
I think
Um,
maybe until they get some sort of real hint that Galactus is actually going to make the MCU, if that's something that gets put out there, then you'll probably see that book skyrocket.
mm, that could definitely be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Um, and then even Deadpool, which is definitely he's a higher tier superhero right now. His first appearance was New Mutants, what 97 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
87, 97. You know, he's not getting any love right now. You can get a low end, but I mean, I'm bidding on one right now, and it's only like 60, $70. Making so, or it's like $87 right now. So I thought that was pretty interesting. How about any more characters that you're thinking of?
Now that we've mostly got out of the way, like I said, I really want the Fantastic Four, and sure, we all want to see Deadpool over there. And I just threw out Wolverine because I know that's like the most popular X Men character everybody wants to see. But I would really like to see Kitty Pryde come in. I'd like to see Kitty Pryde done right. She's never gotten the justice in the films, and she is just like one of the best characters in the X Men. And since they have Captain Marvel, I would really love to see Rogue come in, and
Okay.
we could have that clash that happened in the comic book, where if Rogue steals her powers, and you can play up the whole bad guy thing before you get the redemption arc with that. That could be a series of films right there with those two characters.
Hmm.
And the X Men characters,
So,
like it's so, especially in the last since 2000, that whole world has expanded so much. There's like thousands and thousands of characters to pull from now. The mutants really exploded for a while there.
so here's an interesting thing. So you just brought up Kitty Pryde.
Hmm.
Her first appearance was Uncanny X-Men number 129. I am seeing bids on her book right now for around $30.
Oh
Lowest
wow.
around $11. So that is a very cheap one. She's almost like the leader of the X-Men right now, right? I believe
Yeah,
so.
she's leading one of the teams.
Yeah. So how is it that she is not getting any love right now? I don't understand. I don't get it. In the meantime, they're chasing all types of other ridiculous stuff like Red She Devil and all this other stuff in here. Immortal Hulk and Conan, for God's sake.
Not even
But
old.
I digress. But I digress. Um, how about anybody else?
Nightcrawler.
How about Nightcrawler? Okay, yeah.
Nightcrawler has always been a
Nightcrawler.
favorite. He's always been a favorite of mine. And as far as the movies go, we only ever really got one good scene with Nightcrawler, and then he just kind of shuffled off into the background. The second Bryan Singer film just gave us all the potential of Nightcrawler, but none of the real exploration of the character. It's a big missed opportunity for like a number one, like a top tier X Man.
So it sounds like what you want all around is just a really good X-Men movie.
I would love
Um,
a really good, like, whether you focus on singular X Men or you do like the team with an ensemble cast. I would be down for either, because the MCU has proved they can do good team movies. Between the Russo brothers and between James Gunn, who we talked about last time, James Gunn's back.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's going to be
you know
amazing.
the MCU has proven they can do really good team stories as well as individual stories. So the X Men and the Fantastic Four are easily within reach, and we might finally get like a good FF. And we've already had some good X Men, and I'd love to see some more good X Men movies.
True. Because we haven't gotten some, in my opinion, we haven't gotten any really good ones so far, other than
The,
Logan and
we had
Deadpool.
the first two X-Men movies I thought were really good, and then it all kind of petered off from there. And then the Wolverine movies were okay, but Logan was obviously the best. The man that one got me
Well,
right in the field.
well. Let me ask you this: this Dark Phoenix movie that's about to come out. Are you looking forward to it? Yay or nay? Or have you even
I,
seen the trailers for it yet?
I'm ambivalent.
Ambivalent. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I've looked at it. It looks like trash to me. The makeup doesn't look good at all to me.
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
what I've seen. Like, I'll probably go see it, but I'm not excited for it.
Yeah. Me neither.
I try and watch all these movies, but it's like, but I'm just not pumped for it. They like it hasn't hooked me in. The last movie didn't really do it for me. I would love to see a good Dark Phoenix. I would love to see a well done Apocalypse, but it just hasn't happened yet.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the last time they did it, they absolutely fucked it up. Absolutely. So, all right. What about Man Thing?
Dude, okay, this is crazy because like here's a character who's like he's only very recently developed a personality, but because of that, you can play Man Thing if they go with like classic Man Thing where he's just a shambling muck monster with a few powers. You could do something really neat with that, sort of like the movie that hasn't been released yet, the one that got shelved for all the New Mutants, where they turn the idea of the New Mutants into a horror movie.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Do
Right.
that with Man Thing. Get back to those Steve Gerber roots and make a Marvel horror movie. And that's something that you don't have to go crazy with. You could do a PG-13 Man Thing movie and it could still work because Man Thing doesn't rip people apart. Like the old thing, like whoever knows fear burns the Man Thing's touch. You can do like a little CGI fire. It doesn't have to get too gross, but you can have all that atmosphere. It's not as much about the Man Thing as about the characters that he would interact with.
True.
And you could
True.
do a really good horror movie where he just kind of comes in and comes out like a classic monster.
Man, I think isn't there a Swamp Thing movie? I think I need to go check that out, man.
There
Just
are two Swamp Thing movies from way back in the day. One in the '80s. The first one was directed by Wes Craven, um, and it was pretty good. It was a pretty entertaining film, very very superhero-y. The costume wasn't great; it was very rubber monstery, but it was still cool. It was a very fun movie. And then they did a second film where they picked up the budget. The costume looked way better, but then it got really really campy. I mean, like it was a really really campy
yeah.
flick, and the acting level went down, and Craven didn't have anything to do with that. Now they did do a Man Thing TV movie um, sometime after Blade came out. Marvel was exploring getting more movies out there, and the Man Thing was mostly a combination of I think some animatronics and a lot of CGI,
Mm,
and it was
right.
kind of meh. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. And I'd really like to see a big screen adaptation, or at the very least, if not on the big screen, maybe something of like a good streaming quality show
Okay.
that could do it
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
I would take that as well.
Right. Now you started talking about the New Mutants there for a little bit. What about the New Mutants? Would you like to see them on the big screen, or maybe as part of like a TV series or something?
Well, they've made that film. They made that film about the New Mutants, and usually I understand like when you translate things from one media to another, from comic books to novels or movies, there are things that are going to change and whatnot, and so I accept that. But usually, if you get like way far off base, as most fans are going, I'm not feeling that. But when I saw the trailer for the New Mutants, which set them in this really dark and mysterious world, like it looks like they're in an asylum and like they're being treated for being mutants, and it's being played up as a horror movie. And they even have like that Pink Floyd creepy music. We don't need
Now,
no.
is this something that they're working on, or was it just like a fan flick? Freaking.
It's completed.
Hmm.
That film is completed. It's been sitting on the shelf. Now here, they're finally going to release it. And if my information is correct, there was a chance it was going to be permanently shelved because of the Fox Disney merger. So
Ah,
like
so that makes it interesting.
they were hesitant to release it, but I hear they're finally going to release it. And I'll tell you, I am hyped to see that movie. That
Okay.
trailer is
Well, we need to
killing it.
find out. Yeah, we need to find out the information on that, and if possible, post that on comiccrusaders.com.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like some pretty good stuff. Especially from the spec world, if that's going to happen, need to keep an eye on that. Um,
Yeah, especially if
so
they happen to pull for me that era where Claremont and Bill Sienkiewicz was working on the book when things got kind of freaky there for a while. That'd be a good era to pull from, especially if you're going to like twist it around.
nice, nice. Um, Now, one of the books for which I wouldn't mind seeing, and we got kind of teased on it about it, it was in the second Deadpool movie was X Force. And the
Yeah.
reason why I'm trying to segue is because X Force started in New Mutants number 100,
Mhm.
and that's another one that's a book that's not getting any love once again. So what about X Force? Would you like to see X Force?
Yeah, I'd like to see X Force. I mean, like, and I think I'd kind of like to see that old iteration that they did with the Deadpool film because that was right around the time like Deadpool was being introduced as well. And like the current X Force ended up being like a mutant Spec Ops Black Ops hit team
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
Cyclops, and like
Yeah, they were supposed to.
you
Yeah, they were
could,
supposed to do the operations that the X Men couldn't do. So
yeah, I
what's
mean, like
interesting is,
because if Disney is going to go rated R on some of these films, then pull the trigger on that. But if you're not, go with '90s X Force. That would be cool. Because like
nice.
when I saw like when I saw like Shatterstar, I got like all geeked out. I was like, yeah, man, Shatterstar, and then they all get killed off in ridiculous but hilarious ways. I was like, give him another chance. It's a new universe. Give him another chance.
Well, see, I was more looking at the 2008 to 2009 version of the X Force. So
Hmm.
because you're already set yourself up now, right? Because of the guys that they already have inside the Deadpool universe. So here's what you got. You got Wolverine. You got Domino. You got Cable.
Hmm.
X twenty
That's half the
three.
team right there. Yeah.
Yeah, X-23. She'll be there. Um, Vanisher. Right. Now here's where people need to pick up, right? People need to. This is a pretty cheap book that people need to pick up. Hope, Hope Summers. She was
Oh
actually in
yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
She was in Deadpool 2. People don't understand that when he talks about his daughter, he's talking about Hope Summers.
Yeah.
Her first appearance is in Uncanny X-Men number 205. That's a book that if you want to get a 98, now it's going to cost you something, right? It's going to cost you 300, 400 bucks. But you can get a raw right now for under 100 bucks. And I don't know why she's a popular book. She's a popular person throughout the books right now. At some point, wasn't she like the president of like Matterport or something like that? So there's all types of plans going on for her. But once again, she's one of these people that you know people love daughter. I mean,
Yeah.
have you seen J. Scott Campbell's freaking daughter in her? She's absolutely freaking beautiful. It's just that spec wise, she's not getting a lot of love. So that's my thing. What about Gambit?
Now, I've never been the biggest fan of Gambit, but I understand he has a very large and very loyal fan base, and I see the appeal of Gambit. And he's another guy who, we got a little screen time with him, but it wasn't really, what we wanted. And so, yeah, the Raging Cajun needs his shot too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see Disney picking them up and making. So here's my issue, right? I like Gambit and I like Rogue separately, but
Hmm.
right now the comic with them together is Mr. and Mrs. X.
Yeah.
I can't grab onto it right now. However, I could definitely see it on the big screen. I wouldn't mind to see it on the big screen. Maybe see it translated.
Yeah,
It's just that
you could definitely make it work on the big screen.
yeah.
Definitely. And what's cool about Gambit is Gambit's a guy who would make a great solo movie. And because of his power set, because he's more low key like Deadpool, that's a low budget movie, man. I
Yeah.
mean, like the first Deadpool was only 50 million. and you could knock out a Gambit, something for that price or less. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
because it's mostly street level kind of stuff.
Um, his first appearance, Uncanny X-Men number 266, dirt cheap as well, man. Unfreaking incredible for a guy. So why that's interesting to me is because my first knowledge of the X-Men came from the X-Men cartoon, right? So we're
Nah,
talking about Cyclops, Rogue. We're talking about what's the little girl's name that was always making the little
Jubilee.
Dazzy? Yeah, Jubilee, um,
Thank
Gambit,
God she's not a vampire anymore.
Cyclops. Yeah. Oh my
What
goodness.
a way to ruin a character.
Uh, Xavier, all those guys, right? So you know what? I gotta actually check how much Jubilee's first appearance is right now. Um, but yeah, I don't understand because now the kids who were watching that cartoon are now grown up. So now we have the money to invest in these comics and make them big, but they're not really doing anything. So I don't understand what's really going on. And
It's funny because I answered somebody's tweet that was a similar thing. A guy tweeted out, and I don't remember his name, but I just caught this earlier tonight, and he said like Aquaman made this much money, Captain Marvel made this much money. And he said like, but I go to my comic shop and like, or maybe he runs a comic shop because he knew the numbers like like they only sold like 7 copies of one and 9 copies of another. And my reply was like, unfortunately, movie popular does not equal comic book popular.
true,
Yeah, because the market's just different. Uh,
right?
a lot of and it's funny because like you said, you grew up with the cartoons and you've got the disposable income you're into. And say I grew up, we didn't really have that many superhero cartoons. It was all about the comics, so it was easy to keep collecting them. As I grew older, like I was with them from early on. But now that people of that age, from the kids of the '80s and '90s, have the disposable income, why aren't they getting the comic books? I understand that the current generation uh, doesn't have the didn't have the access to comic books we did growing up. They weren't at the gas station, they weren't at the the on the news racks anymore.
Right?
It was
Yeah,
only
yeah.
that you had to go to the comic book shops. You had to go to the specialty shops to have access to them. But with so much popularity, you think more people would be picking them up, but for some reason they're not.
Well, it's probably because they're $4 or $5 a pop now.
That does hurt, man. I mean,
I
like
mean,
that's
because back in the day, it was 10 cents. It's a fucking dime. You fucking give your kid fucking 25 cents, he could get fucking 3 comic books, man.
when I started buying comic books for myself. When my folks weren't buying them, I was making a little money mowing lawns and stuff. Um, I would buy so many comic books because, like you said, they were cheap. And I remember when they went up from like 50 cents to 65 cents, I was outraged. Like, oh my god, that's such a huge jump. If somebody had told me back then, like comics could jump between like $4 to $5, I was like, are you crazy? It is literally, as much as I don't like what's been going on with Marvel and how what's going on with DC with all these, all this identity politics stuff, and I don't want to get into that whole big mess again. But like, it's not just that; it's the
Oh,
price.
oh, no,
The
no. We're
price
gonna
is
no,
ridiculous.
Jeff. We're gonna get into it when we talk about C2E2. So don't worry about
Okay,
that.
okay, that's fine because I feel like that's like okay, all right. Jeff's on the show. Yeah, we're going to get into the politics again. Here he goes. That's his thing.
Yeah, that's why we drink, right? So that we can.
That's right. Because
That's why when we say something stupid, we can blame it on a drink. That's why we
because
do it.
I'm like that old fan they keep talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, you had your time, your silver age, and your golden age, and your bronze age.
Right. But guess what? If I'm paying money, I want money that caters to me.
Yeah,
So if 65 to 75% of your reader base is white males over the age of 35, then why wouldn't you cater to them? All right.
yeah. I mean, like
So
it doesn't make any sense business wise. And the worst thing you can be told as a customer, It's not even just like, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. All right, fine. I'm good with that. But when they say something as stupid as like, well, this wasn't made for you,
Right.
dude, it should be made for everybody. You want to include everybody but me. That's ridiculous. And the sales
My
show the difference.
goodness. Exactly. That's why. Well, see, I can't say for a fact that that's why DC is freaking cutting their titles, but Marvel, they are stubborn, man. Even though nobody's reading a lot of their stuff, they're saying, you know what? No, somebody, our readers aren't reading these titles. So what do we do? Let's put more titles.
I'll tell you, here's what it is because the people running the show are ideologues. You look at like the Women of Marvel podcast and whatever Sana Amanat is tweeting out, and yeah, and like I can't remember his name right now, but they literally they are proud of the fact. It's like I just made this canon. That's what they're going for, and they've said in these podcasts like even when the books fail, I think it matters that we got this out there. So that's all it is for them. It's like like it's like they're on Xbox unlocking achievements like diversity. Ding,
Yeah.
it was like Captain America has no problem with like a Dominican Republic senator. Ding is like Captain. Who cares about that? That's not a relevant story point.
True.
Captain America is good with any American as long as they're a good American. That's all he cares about.
Here,
And
here,
like, but they're so proud. They're like, I just made that canon, and
right. Well, here's what I care about. Right. Marvel does have some pretty good diverse characters already. Right.
yeah,
I'm talking about from the African American perspective. We got
yeah,
Carlos Morales. You've got Storm in there. Even though she's been there for however long, you could kill her off already. I wouldn't care. And then you got Shuri, right? She's supposed to
hmm
be part of the new generation. You got Kamala Khan, Moon Girl. So you got a whole generation full of new characters that you can pop in there. And I know I complained about this last week, but you've got Shuri in there, and you've got 3 to 4 Black Panthers running around. Yet none of them are in Africa.
yeah,
What's the point of having these diverse characters if they're going to stay in the same place? Diversity to me doesn't mean that the person is diverse, but it's the problem sets that they have to deal with that are diverse. That's
hmm
why Kamala Khan works, because not only does she have to deal with the superhero shit, she has to deal with the intercultural problems within her own culture, right?
yeah. And that was like one of the like that first trade that I read of her. That was one of the most appealing things about her story. Is like, and I mentioned that last time. Is like here she is. She's grown up American, but she's got first generation Pakistani parents. And there's a big clash there. And watching her try and figure out her way around this was really interesting. And so why would you take that away? And it's like why take the African superheroes out of Africa like all the time? Like obviously, Black Panther's going to come out here, help the Avengers, help Captain America, whatever. He's kind of a guy who can be a global hero. But let's tell those stories over there. One of my favorite Black Panther stories deals with the invasion of Wakanda. And the whole series, I think this was the one written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and drawn by John Romita Jr. The whole thing basically takes place in Africa, and it's great. And you can make interesting stories in other countries that people here will still read. But it's like they're afraid. They're afraid to just go there.
So I'm going to bring up something else, right? So C2E2, right?
Mhm.
They're Marvel put out its plan for the next year or so, right, of the type of books. Right? And
Yeah.
I think I actually talked about this last week or within the last 2 weeks. Part of that War of the Realms, right? War of the Realms is where they're going to introduce some new Asian characters, right? Because apparently there was an Asian problem, there wasn't enough Asian characters. Got it, fine, whatever. Here's the deal. They're bringing in Asian characters, but guess what? They're not fighting in Asia. They're fighting in other realms. They're not even part of the Earth. So
Yeah.
once again, you have these diverse characters that they're not even fighting from the country that they are, which means that the diverse problem set that they should be dealing with, they're not going to be dealing with. So what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. Like if you're going to intro these characters, and I'll say this for like DC, they all of a sudden like, hey, we got Chinese Superman. Well, they brought in a whole cadre, their own sort of Chinese Justice League around him. It's like, oh, we're going to copy what's going on over there, and they set that story over there. And I think that's the right way to do it. And if you're even if they're going to be Asian, people in America, like just like Kamala Khan, like have them within their culture. They're a part of our culture as overall Americans, but also show them in their culture. That was such a good idea on Marvel's part for Kamala to have these first generation Pakistani parents who are over here in America. And if you want to explore that cultural divide, you need to start from that. You either need to start in wherever they're from initially, or if they're Americans, make them first generation or second generation. Because like you said, if you put them out in space or other realms, dimensions, like there's a big disconnect there, and it doesn't matter where they're from at that point.
You know, there's another character, actually, and it's not just the African Americans or the Asians, right, that are having an issue with the writers right now. So there's two characters. One is with DC. Her name is like Jessica Cruz, right? She's
Okay, yeah, the Green Lantern.
one of the Green Lanterns. And then the other one on Marvel side is America, right? America Perez or something like that.
You
I
talking
think
about America Chavez?
Chavez, America Chavez. It's like, okay, great. You got these two Latina characters. But once again, the whole thing about them culturally dealing with their problem sets, that is gone.
Well, here I'll tell you, I got a whole rant on America Chavez. If you want to hear
Go
this,
ahead, man. Go for it.
all right. So America Chavez is not a Latina character. They just it's just marketed that way. And let me explain. America Chavez comes from another dimension that was put together by the Demiurge, which used to be Wiccan. So like they had their own little planet, and all the men died off, and so they had to have this little pocket dimension. And so it's still like she's never grown up on Earth. There are no Latinos. There's no Latin America. She's grown up in this place called the Utopian Parallel. So she's not a Latino. She's got no connection to that culture whatsoever. They've got this very, talk about like the blending of the peoples. They're in this whole world where all of those cultural divides have been erased because they're the survivors of their previous world are just on this. So then she comes over here, and you imagine she gets the America because there's Wiccan, America, whatever. So she comes over here and she like, oh well, I see these people kind of look like me and all this, and she starts adopting all of that, and maybe even some of the persona and some of the language because the way she was written by oh blast, what's her name? Was it Gabby Riviera?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, the
right,
way
right,
the way
right.
she was written in her solo book sucked. Sucked bad because I had seen America in other books. My first introduction to her was with the Ultimates, the team led by Black Panther and Blue Marvel, and had Carol Danvers in there and Spectrum and all them. And she was a really cool character there. And I went back and researching some of her other stuff that she was in, and she was a really neat, interesting character. Now Gabby Riviera gets a hold of her and just turns her into like the most.
Her was
Oh, dude, she's
Gabby
like the most.
Rivera's run was trash.
Oh, it's trash, dude. She's like a low class
I
Barrio
was so
Cholo.
disappointed.
She's just horrible and like the most racist thing I've ever seen in a comic book. She's
You
so
know,
hates everybody
so
who's
so
not
so
brown.
so so let me stop you there, Jeff. And here's my frustration with it. I was excited when she got her own comic, right?
Yeah.
But she wrote her Gabby Rivera, who is a good writer. wrote the thing backwards, right?
Yeah,
So the ending of the run actually described where the hell Gabby River or Gabby is it Chavez? No, excuse me,
America Chavez.
American Chavez came from.
No, you're
Why didn't
you're
you put that at the
precisely right.
beginning?
You are
Why
100%
didn't you put that at the
right.
beginning? So now I know where the hell she came from. And then let's roll because all of a sudden her grandma shows up and all this is happening and her moms and everything. Her moms are doing this and doing that. Explain that from the beginning. That way I can actually feel something for this character. Because as I'm reading through the title, I didn't know that she was alone.
Hmm.
I didn't know that her that she had moms. I didn't know
Yeah,
any of that. I like
she just
so
seemed
it
to
was
take for granted. Gabby seemed to take for granted that everybody knew her history from previous comics, but she hadn't really hit big yet. You know, like
right.
she wasn't that big a character yet. And I agree with you. Like she wrote it in reverse. She should have started with a utopian parallel, given us some background, given us that like, oh, this is where she's coming from, and then we can start to connect with her. And instead, she takes a character who, in a book, I really liked. I really like that Ultimate series, and where she is shown to be powerful, smart, capable. There's a couple of times where like people like the Black Panther and the Blue Marvel are deferring to her as like, you're this. You've got the ability to teleport transdimensionally. You know more about this. You lead the team in this expedition. So
Right.
she was getting her props. And then Gabby takes her and she just makes her stupid. I don't
Exactly.
get it. Like she just made the character everything I liked about her went away.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And then she's in West Coast Avengers right now, and she's
Yeah.
even weaker. I don't get it. She's even weaker. This is a person who technically is even more powerful than Captain Marvel.
Hmm.
She is so powerful that she can punch a hole in reality to make a portal and go wherever she wants. That's how powerful this chick is.
Now it's weird because like her power set in the solo series, it was definitely nerfed. Although then she started like, hey, you can punch through time as well as space. But when I was reading her in the Ultimates, because the Ultimates was a cosmic level team, one of the and this is my first experience. So like I had to like, who is this chick? And like, oh man, she's crazy powerful because she's fighting with Spectrum, the former Captain Marvel, who turns into light, and she's like looking over at Gabby, and she's like, she should be still to my perception, but like I can see her moving. It's like, whoa. So somebody moving the speed of light is still going like, hey, I can actually see you moving. I mean, you're slow mo to me, but you're moving. It's like I was like, oh man, this chick has got something in the gas tank, all right.
Yeah, yeah. So what were we talking about? So that was our introduction to War of the Realms, right? So there's a whole
Mm.
bunch of stuff going on. C2, it is C2E2. Marvel announced three new events, and that there's going to be a mystery one. So we're going to have War of the Realms, House of 10 or House of X, and Power of X, Power of 10, right? And then they're going to finish off with is it Absolute Carnage, and then some mysterious title. War of Realms we've already been talking about for the last 2 weeks. Um, House of X, Power of X. So for those who haven't been paying attention, who haven't been reading, there's been like just there's been two main advertisements. One is talks about these two different species and what happens and dominance, whatever. Then the other one, it just says Hickman, right? Leading up
Mm.
to something. So finally they explained what the Hickman thing is. The Hickman thing is that he's going to be writing this House of X, Power of X thing. Um, Now, here's the interesting thing. They also released a photo of one of the covers, and maybe you could take me through it. Do you have it up so that you can kind of run through with us who the
Yeah,
heck all these people are? Because I could definitely see maybe Xavier. Um, I can see Magneto, And I can see Storm is in the back there.
Well, when I'm looking at the cover, one of the things that kind of excites me is I'm seeing characters who I really haven't seen in a while. Like back in the back, I see a Warlock from the New Mutants, the alien mutant from the Technarchy.
Okay.
From those of you who remember the 1980s New Mutants, this was a biomechanical alien, and they're doing that kind of fish out of water, a little culture shock. But he rapidly became a favorite character of mine, and also from around the same time period, because this image here has a mix of heroes and villains. Is another favorite villain of mine who dropped off the face of the books a little bit is Nimrod, the ultimate sentinel from the Days of Future Past, who came back and caused a lot of trouble for a while. And so they're pulling out characters who have kind of fallen into obscurity, as well as pulling in a lot of characters that we've known and loved. And like, oh, see, like here's something that really excites me. Back there in the back beside Storm, I see Dazzler, and I see Dazzler dressed in her 70s disco getup. And dude, I am so geeking out on that because I've always thought all the other Dazzler costumes were trash. It's like I don't care if it doesn't make sense, if it's too retro, put her in the Dazzler of the 70s outfit. I'm all about it. And look at how interesting this is. They've got Wolverine in the Weapon X gear. What is that all about?
Right.
Why would
So
Wolverine be? So,
so
oh, I see two Wolverines. So
yes,
it seems like we're going. It seems
that's
like we're going
important.
through time and
Right.
space here.
Very important. Very important that you mentioned that this is that some there are two versions of some of these characters running around in this thing. So
Hmm.
yep. So keep going.
Yeah. So maybe like because we were discussing up front before we got on, there's this redskin guy who looks exactly like Nightcrawler, except he's redskin. I can see he's got the three digits on his hands. He's got the pointy
Right.
ears, but his skin is red. And at first I thought it was Azazel, but he's not rocking the goatee. So maybe that's just an alternate version of Nightcrawler going on there. Is
Right.
Nightcrawler going to get a pigment change? Who
Yep.
knows?
Because in Age of X-Men, sometimes he is shown as red, sometimes he's shown as blue. Um, so
So that's interesting because so far for the books, I've been reviewing the Marvelous X-Men book, and he's been nothing but blue in there so far.
right.
And we
So
had discussed. Oh, you go ahead.
no, no, no. So
And,
yeah, go ahead, man.
okay, and we had discussed that there was like because they don't have live childbirth over there. They kind of do this matrix thing, or they mix up your DNA. And somebody said like, oh, Nightcrawler and Mystique possibly have had a child together. I was like, but is it Nightcrawler and Mystique now? Because if you guys happen to be able to see this cover, find this image, you'll see right beside this red Nightcrawler, kind of tucked away. You can just barely see her. There's this white-haired looking red Nightcrawler female type gal, and so you're like, well, is this Nightcrawler and Storm's kid? So we
Right.
don't know. It's interesting.
Exactly. Right, right, right. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, and the reason why that perked my ears up is because in one of the Nightcrawlers was one of the Age of X-Men. Let's see, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, Age of X-Men, the Amazing Nightcrawler number 4. The FOC is actually the 28th, so that would be this week. Written by Shanann McGuire, John Friggery, cover by Shane Davis. The title is The Most Forbidden Love. On the cover there is a
Mm,
little girl.
yeah.
So I don't know whether this is going to be the same little girl that'll be carried over, or this is going to be a different little girl. Either way, this could be one character, a new character, and then in the House of X, there could be or the House of 10, or whatever you're going to call it. There could also be a new character. So we might want to keep an eye on that. If you're a speculator, you got to be all over it. What's going on
Yeah.
here?
Hey, do this, man. You're gonna have to hold the fort for a moment. I have got to run to the bathroom for a sec.
Absolutely. Okay.
Look out, cat. Come on, go, go, go.
So what we got going on is because of the Marvel C2 East 2, next best thing panel, we got the full details. Brian Lake, David Pierce, reporting for whatever. Um, we got this House of 10, Powers of 10. You've got Apocalypse in there. You've got Summer Nord. You've got Cable. Looks like you've got Scott Summers there in there. Storm. Let's see, both Weapon X's. You got Xavier. You got Rogue in there. Maybe Psylocke. Maybe I'm not sure who that is. Definitely got Phoenix in there. Looks like maybe you got the X-Man in there, Happy God in there. You got Archangel. You got all types of characters in there. Oh, you definitely got like you said, Dazzler. You got Jubilee. So it's going to be interesting. Oh, and you also got what's pretty interesting in here is you got a younger Franklin Richards um, in there as well. But the most interesting thing about what Jeff was talking about when he was talking about the little red girl is that there's actually a brother and a sister running around in Superior, excuse me, not Superior, but the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man running around, and they're about that same color as well. So I think it was pretty interesting. I'm gonna keep my eye on it. I'm gonna keep an eye on freaking FLCs and how to order this, and hopefully I don't miss out on this one. And then let's see what else we got. As far as other announcement that was made over at C2E2 is AWA Comics. Hopefully, if we can hook us up so they can so we can get a chance to look at their stuff. Um, Axel Alonso, John Miller, Belgium, who was actually the executive team over at the executive team. They're going to hope to change the way comic book business is done. They're going to start a um, new brand of comics. They're going to be a publisher. They're going to start out with a group of comics. One is by Frank Cho. One is called let's see, American Ronin by Peter Milligan and ACL. It's about a highly trained operative of huge corporations. Then there's Fight Girls about warriors vying to be the queen of the galaxy by Frank Cho. Then there's Bad Mother by Krista Faust about a mother searching for a missing daughter. And then there's Archangel 8, and that one's by Michael Moretti. And it's about one of God's angels who goes rogue. Um, and there's a really nice cover by Jeff Decal. Um, I don't really see the details on how they plan to change the stuff that's going on. But it should be pretty interesting. Uh, Now, I'm trying to gather all the information on the C2E2 variants. I may not have it to you during this particular broadcast, but I'm going to try and have it to you um, if we do the after hours. Looks like people are freaking hit me up. Let's see. Yeah. Um, but one of the variants that was passed out is the Giuseppe Camuncoli variant for this week. It was the Thor number 11. It looks okay. I'm not sure how many were printed, but it looks okay. Written by Jason Aaron. The inside art is written by Luke Garbett, or yeah, Garbet. It's going to be the prelude to the War of Realms, in which they find Lady Freyja struggling to protect Asgard's refugees as Malekith forces grow bold. But the All Mother, I never heard that before, one had to protect Midgard alone, and Thor and his faithful dog Thori enter the fight. You know what's interesting, man? Is freaking Thor has been showing up. He actually showed up in the last Avengers to fight the little vampire dog. So I'm actually going to be looking forward to that. And then they also passed out there was a C2E2 exclusive by Mike McCone. Very covered by Mike McCone. Uh, it is the Avengers number 17, C2E2 exclusive, and in it you've got Ironheart sharing a piece of pie with Spider-Man, Captain America, and Miss Marvel. They're just sitting there chilling. I think that's pretty freaking interesting. I haven't checked on the prices yet on the secondary market to see if anybody's freaking buying it yet, but
Is
yeah,
that
it's pretty.
is that Miles Spider Man or Parker Spider Man?
Unfortunately, this the Parker Spider-Man. Yeah, because you know what, I wouldn't mind Miles Morales hooking up with Ironheart.
You
I
know,
wouldn't mind
actually,
that.
would have given the sub there would have made sense to have two of the newer characters with two of the older characters.
That's true.
You know, like Miles and Ironheart there, like hanging out with the two captains would have actually been pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so Jeff, right now I'm just going over some of the C2E2 stuff, the C2E2 announcements. Um, Jason Aaron and Al Ewing are going to launch a Valkyrie ongoing series at Marvel.
Hmm.
Is that something that you would be interested in? Yay
Well,
or nay? Yay or nay?
I'm
Is that something you
curious.
were like, man, I definitely wanted that.
I'm curious. I will admit I'm curious about that.
All right.
I
Well,
think it's because like I love Norse mythology,
mm,
so that does get my interest.
I think if they would have did it right after Thor Ragnarok, they probably could have pulled this off. People were like, "Yep, I gotta read more about Valkyrie and what's going on." But it's been so long, man. It's been what 2 years since Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, you
People are
got to
gonna
strike
forget.
while the iron's hot.
Yeah, man, Rick, you can't, you can't, we can do that. I mean, it's not like it's even coming out tomorrow. It might be another six,
Because
7 months before it's coming out.
they did try and put uh the Black Valkyrie in the Exiles book that they did, but that didn't last,
Right.
if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, something like that. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Um, and then let's see. You know what? That's about it, man. Freaking last bit of news is Idris Elba, right? So Idris Elba, who plays the guy in Asgard, was the
Heimdall.
gatekeeper. Hemdall.
He plays Yeah, he plays Heimdall.
He plays Heimdall, right?
He can
Well,
see and hear everything.
yep. So he may possibly star in the Mouse Guard film. Mouse Guard is a comic that is an indie. Um, it's a pretty interesting book because it was only like 400 printed, but it was really good, and you cannot find any copies of the first print online.
Oh
You're not
wow!
gonna find it. The last copy that sold for $1,300, right?
Whoa!
Um, which is pretty good for an indie book. You can find second prints online for $100. Right. So keep your eye out. You keep your eyes out for that. Go ahead, ask your local comic book shops for that one. Um, but yeah, that's the rumor right now that Idris Elba is possibly going to star in Mouse Guard. I don't know whether he's going to star as a voice or as a person. Actually need to go back and read that freaking thing, but we'll see. Um, is there anything else you got, Jeff, before we go ahead and uh, dance to the night? We can finish our drinks.
I'll tell you. I got something in the mail not too long ago. If I can just pimp something real quick here. There's this book out there. I saw an ad for it in Alternate Comics. It was called Legend of the Log,
Okay.
or Legend of Log. You can find that guy on Twitter. I think is the same name. and it's like an ash can sized comic book, but it's 64 pages and it's an anthology. He's got a bunch of little stories in there. You know, he's not giving you one single long narrative. The one guy writes it all. He's got several different artists, and you can get the book for like $2, and you ought to check it out. It's pretty darn awesome. You know, if you want to take a chance on something that's just, you know, it's cheap. It's kind of unusual being that ash can size, and it's a lot of fun. It's a black and white comic, 64 pages, $2. Take a shot, and it's fun. I enjoyed it.
Okay, nice. I will definitely check that out. Um, Also, make sure that you guys check out our page for our reviews at comiccrusaders.com, where we try and give you as much information as possible. Um, Hit us up on freaking Twitter if you have any good ideas for stuff that you would like us to write about, or if you want us to talk about any stuff on this podcast. If you would like to actually get paid to listen to this podcast, we would like to tell you guys about Podcoin, which is a site that will actually pay you to actually listen to me ramble on in my drunk ramblings. Um, so go ahead, check it out, podcoin.com. Go ahead and type in Comic Crusaders, and our stuff will pop right up. And freaking go ahead and listen to it, give us a chance, and then freaking if you don't like the content, tell me what you want us to talk about, and freaking we'll go ahead and freaking ramble or freaking talk about it.
Can I get
Um,
paid to listen to me?
oh sure, absolutely, man.
I'm a
Freaking,
big
hey,
fan of myself.
yeah, man. It may not be much, man, but it definitely counts, man. Freaking, but signing off for Comic Crusaders. Thanks, from Hammered Heroes. Thanks a lot for listening. Goodbye.
Night, everybody.